the next iPhone costs $3,500, would you still buy it? Well, that's what it would cost if Trump gets his way.
And I had a little problem with Tim Cook yesterday. I said to him, Tim, you're my friend. I've treated you very good. You're coming in with $500 billion, but now I hear you're building all over India. I don't want you building in India.
That public jab from the US president wasn't a passing remark. It was the spark that ignited a high-stakes standoff between the most powerful politician in the world and one of the world's biggest tech companies. Fast forward to August 6th. Apple announced an additional $100 billion investment in the US over the next 4 years, raising its total commitment to a staggering $600 billion, a move that seems to have placated Trump, at least for now. But at the root of this battle is a question that seems simple enough, yet is deeply complicated. Where should iPhones be made? Let's rewind. Apple has been steadily ramping up production in India, and this has infuriated the US president, who views this as a missed opportunity to bring jobs back to the US soil, a key promise of his re-election campaign. His America First policy is all about reshoring jobs, restoring US manufacturing, and of course, racking up political points. In his view, every iPhone built in India is one less job for an American worker. And to push Apple back, Trump threatened a 25% tariff on iPhones made outside the US. That single line sent Apple's stock tumbling. But Apple isn't shifting to India on a whim. Moving a substantial portion of its iPhone production out of China and into India is a calculated move, mainly to reduce its overwhelming reliance on China. Why? Ongoing US-China tensions, rising labor costs, and regulatory risks. On the other hand, India offers a promising alternative: lower labor costs, government incentives, and a booming smartphone market. In fact, in just 1 year, Apple's India production surged by 60%, hitting $22 billion, with Foxconn and Tata leading the charge. Here's another fun fact. In mid-2025, for the first time ever, India overtook China as the top supplier of iPhones to the US. From April to June, India shipped nearly 12 million iPhones and China just 7 million. But Trump isn't happy with that either and wants made in USA iPhones. So what would it mean for Apple to actually bring production to the US? As per Wedbush Securities, cited by CNBC, Apple would need to spend $30 billion over 3 years just to move 10% of its supply chain to the US. And the cost to consumers? A US-made iPhone could cost, wait for it, $3,500. Meanwhile, as per a Bank of America analysis cited by Bloomberg, simply moving the final assembly of the iPhones to the US would increase costs by about 25%. And if Apple had to pay tariffs on imported components and attempt to localize its entire supply chain, the price increase could reach 90%, putting iPhones in the $2,300 range. And Apple knows this won't fly. Market research shows that demand drops sharply once prices cross $1,500, and if prices hit more than $2,000, sales could collapse by a whopping 60%. Let's just compare the labor costs. As per IHS Markit, which provides analytics for industries, the average direct labor and factory overhead per iPhone in China is about $10 to $12. In the US, comparable costs jump to $25 to $30. That's an increase of 150%. When asked about production in the US, Apple CEO Tim Cook didn't sugarcoat his response. He said, and I quote, "The US is simply not made for iPhone production at scale," unquote. He's not wrong. The iPhone is a global product assembled from 2,700 components sourced across 28 countries. The supply chain is massive, complex, and nearly impossible to recreate entirely in the US. Analysts warn that forcing full-scale iPhone assembly in the US could wreck Apple's pricing strategy, cripple demand, shrink margins, and cost the company billions of dollars. Not only is Trump's demand impractical, but it's also economically dangerous. For now, Trump's proposed 50% import tariff on India doesn't cover smartphones and electronics, but experts warn that could change. Yet, despite all of this, Apple appears resolute in its plan to expand production in India in what is a strategic pivot to diversify risk and future-proof operations in an increasingly volatile global economy.